Fortunately, just to bring it to obviously the topic at hand, the Boston Celtics, going from behind the curve, behind the 8 ball, behind the whatever they were, just, really difficult to watch, not fun at all. Things have flipped just a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and say everything is fixed, everything is awesome. But you go from that 7-14 stretch and a lot of guys missing time, injuries. Marcus Smart is still out until who knows how long, should return sometime here shortly after the break. We hope that is what, direction he is trending in, but the 4 straight wins and everyone's staying on the same page. That seems to be the big thing that has been talked about by the players, by Brad Stevens. It's, this was such an easy time where people could have pulled apart from one another and all the adversity and all the noise and everything on the outside. We've come together. It's made us closer. It's made us stronger. A lot of that stuff is cliche, Chris. We know that. We've heard it for years in these similar situations, but nevertheless, are you a believer this team is now on the right track, or is this just a good little run here into the break?
No, I think they've righted the ship to a degree. They were never as bad as they looked at their very worst in the last couple of weeks, but they're not as good as they have looked at different points earlier in the season. I thought from talking to people in the organization about what was going wrong during that tough stretch, it was a lot of kind of rock rolling down the mountain where, some guys were down and you just couldn't pick them up. You couldn't get them to believe again. Even the guys in the locker room that did believe they were better than they thought. So I think there was just some negative momentum that this team got caught up in. And however it happened, whether it's, Jeff Teague playing with more aggression, Robert Williams stepping up and playing a bigger role, they seem to have corrected things a little bit. Now, look, they still have flaws that can, cause them to go into another spiral. They still are over-reliant on unproven players. Marcus Smart is still out, and we're not exactly sure when he's coming back. And those are issues. Those are lingering issues that are going to cause you to lose some games. But I think the negative momentum that they got wrapped up in, they've reversed that. And that's at least a positive step in the right direction going into the break.
Yeah, the thing with me about the Celtics team, you talk about reliance on guys like, Shemi Ojale and Grant Williams and all that stuff. And we've talked about that over the past couple of weeks, that their roster is not ideal right now. They're relying a lot on Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. My big concern, and it echoes last night in a game against Toronto, right? They give up 70 points in the first half to a very depleted Toronto squad. Toronto had 21 threes in that game. It's a very losable game for Boston. Lucky to somehow find a way to win that. To Jayson Tatum hit some big shots down the stretch. Chris, the offense has been great, and I think I saw somewhere this morning where Boston in their 4-game win streak has like the highest offensive rating in that 4-game stretch of any team in the NBA, which is a really, 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 really small sample size. So don't get too excited about that. But I still have problems with this team defensively. And that's, you go back to, all the good that you can feel with this team finally righting the ship. But I still see a big problem here with, you have a team that if Kemba or Jaylen or Jayson's not feeling it that night, you're going to be in some big trouble because the other team's going to put up a lot of points on you.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And look, their defense has always kind of perplexed me, right? Like, I could understand how they were good, 2 or 3 years ago when Al Horford was there, and he's a really good defensive player. Aaron Baines clearly fit into the system. But then, last year they maintained their place in the top 10 with like Enes Kanter out there for big minutes. So I could never really figure out how they were always so good defensively. I think what they lack this year defensively, and maybe the development of Robert Williams in the second half will address that, but they lack some versatility there. Like, Tristan Thompson is a very good on-ball defender. At least he has been a very good on-ball defender. Versatility is not really his thing. Like, switching out and going 3 positions and playing the kind of way Boston big men have played in recent years. And when you throw something new into a system that's been running one way for a while, that can have some damaging effects. And I think that's affected their defense. Now, they without Marcus Smart, you lose your best on-ball defender. Your defense is going to suffer. But Kemba has always been a subpar defender. Jaylen and Jayson are very good, but you've got young guys coming off the bench, whether it's Peyton Pritchard or whomever, who are average at best defenders. So you're not able to throw top flight defensive guys at teams these days. And that's something I think it's going to need to be addressed, whether it's via trade or something else, some guy at the buyout deadline, because I don't know if this team, I know this team's not as strong defensively as they've been in recent years.